Hello and welcome to the Econocraft 30, 50, 60-inch instructional video. The Econocraft pressure-sensitive roll applicator automates the application of transfer tape and other pressure-sensitive adhesive PSA tapes or films. With minimum effort and skill, you can apply transfer tape to weeded vinyl, transfer taped vinyl to sign blanks, and apply clear PSA over-laminates to finished signs or promotional materials. Econocraft applicators are ideal for mounting applications and can accept substrates up to 1 inch thick. Designed for sign and graphics applications, Econocraft machines are used in many settings, including sign shops, photo finishing labs, reprographic shops, and manufacturing plants. Jobs such as applying vinyl to sign blanks or putting transfer tape on vinyl signage are very labor-intensive. As the material gets wider and longer, the labor costs become disproportionately high. Bubbles and wrinkles can occur, and waste increases. Some jobs require the additional time and mess of liquid application. When signage is ruined during the taping or application process, the cost of recutting, reweeding, and reapplying can take all of the profit out of a job. Whether it's transfer tape, vinyl, sandblast, or acid resist tape, Premasked, adhesive film, clear polyester, or other pressure-sensitive material, an Econocraft applicator will put it down with a minimum of effort with no bubbles or wrinkles. Using an Econocraft is much easier than doing the same work by hand. Fast and versatile, it requires little instruction for you to be up and running. With this instructional video used in conjunction with your owner's operator's manual, you should be ready to handle the most rigorous and demanding jobs and workloads in a short time with some practice. Before we move on to the setup and operation of the Econocraft pressure-sensitive roll applicator, be sure to familiarize yourself and fully understand the safety precautions detailed on page 2 of your owner's operator's manual. Remember that a laminator is a potentially dangerous power tool, and if misused, used carelessly, or used without observing the rules of safe operation, very serious injury can result. Setup and operation. If you have not done so already, remove the machine from its shipping container and position it on an unobstructed level work surface. Let's get familiar with the components of the machine as they're detailed on pages 10 and 12 of the owner's operator's manual. First, let's look at the emergency stop buttons. They should be in the up position. If buttons are depressed, turn clockwise slowly until they pop up. In the event of any emergency, depress the stop button closest to the operator to stop the machine. Next, let's look at the supply roll mandrel situated here at the top back of the machine. This is where you slide your roll of PSA materials onto. The roll is held in place by these gripper rods that engage by rotating the film and its cardboard core a quarter turn either direction. Proper tension of the unwinding web, the stream of PSA film, is adjustable via the 2 supply roll tension knobs and springs located at both ends of the supply roll mandrel. The whole supply roll mandrel assembly fits into these brackets situated here on the side panels. Next, there is the release liner take-up bar and 3-inch core chuck assemblies. This assembly will be used with PSA films that have a liner that must be removed before applying. Take an empty 3-inch cardboard core and slide it over the chucks until secure, as demonstrated here. Then slide the whole assembly back into place. The release liner can then be taped to the cardboard core and automatically taken up and wound with the unwind of the web. The small black knob located here on the right side housing cover allows you to increase or decrease the amount of tension or drag needed to optimally separate the release liner from the web of film. Next, we have the safety shield and feed tray. The safety shield is the clear hinged plexiglass guard with 2 silver handles that sits directly in front of the nip rollers. It locks into place on both sides of the feed tray in these sliding locking brackets. To unlock the feed tray for proper positioning during threading, setup, and operation, gently pull up and out on the feed tray as demonstrated here. Select the increment setting appropriate for your application, set the safety shield into place, then gently push the feed tray forward and down until it seats in its respective mounting brackets. Note: the machine will not operate without the safety shield and feed tray in their proper operating positions. Never tamper with, modify, rewire, or bypass any control or safety device on this machine. Any attempt to do so will void the warranty and place the liability and responsibility for any damage or injury incurred as a result strictly upon the owner-operator. Refer to the safety precautions outlined on page 2 of the owner's operator's manual for safe operation of this machine. Moving over to the right side of the machine, located below the tension control knob for the release liner take-up mentioned earlier, is the rubber roll pressure handle. This opens, closes, and locks the rubber rolls. Next, we have the control panel, which on the right side of the control panel is the motor drive system on-off power switch. Next to it, in the center, is the motor drive variable speed control knob and dial. This allows you to set various drive speeds for different applications. To the left of that is the motor drive forward-reverse selector switch. It has 3 positions. Up is for forward drive, middle for neutral, and down for reverse drive. Below the control panel, on the lower front face of the right side housing, is the manual foot pedal control switch. It has 3 positions. Up for manual drive motor control, middle position is off, and down for foot switch operation. Located below the manual foot pedal control switch is the hardwired foot pedal cable input. To the left of the foot pedal input is the right side gap adjustment locking handle, with the left side gap adjustment handle located in the same place on the lower front left side housing. These handles lock the rubber rolls into their desired heights when adjusting the gap for different thickness substrates. Continuing here on the left side, we have the roll gap adjustment handle. This handle is used to raise and lower the roll gap height to specific substrate thicknesses. At the back of the machine is the main power cord input, and directly above it is the 3-amp motor drive fuse and fuse holder. The foot pedal is now a standard feature on the Econocraft Laminator that allows you to turn the drive on and off with your foot, freeing your hands to align and feed larger and longer items into the machine. With the drive switch on and the forward-reverse switch in forward, set the foot pedal selector switch to foot pedal and set the motor speed control to a manageable feed rate around 20%. The drive will now only engage with the foot pedal depressed. And will stop as soon as you take your foot off the pedal. Roll gap adjustment. The Econocraft Laminator is equipped with the ability to adjust the size of the roller gap to accommodate substrates up to 1 inch thick. As the machine comes from the factory set to do thinner substrates under 1/8 inch thick, it is necessary to adjust the gap whenever substrates over 1/8 inch are to be laminated. We will now demonstrate how to adjust the roller gap. Make sure to disconnect the power, lift the safety shield up and out of the way, locate the roller gap adjustment handle on the left side of the laminator, locate the gap adjustment lock handles on the left front and right front panels, and locate the roller pressure handle on the right side of the laminator. Step 1. Be sure the roller pressure is off by rotating the roller pressure handle counterclockwise until the rollers are up and locked. Step 2. Rotate both the left and right gap adjustment lock handles counterclockwise until loose. You will need to turn approximately 1 full turn. Step 3. Grasp the gap adjustment handle with the left hand and rotate to raise and lower the gap height. Place the gap adjustment spacer block that is supplied with the laminator along with a piece of the substrate to be laminated, or an item of equal thickness, between the top and bottom rollers. The spacer block should be placed on top of the substrate while between the rollers. Rotate the gap adjustment handle until the top roller rests firmly on the top of the spacer block. Step 4. Rotate the left and right gap adjustment lock handles clockwise until they are tight. This will lock the top rubber roll at the correct height to laminate the respective substrate. Step 5. With the drive switch off, lock the safety shield into position. Plug the machine in. Put the foot pedal selector switch in the upper manual position. Then put the forward-reverse switch in reverse and turn the drive switch on, slowly backing out the gap gauge block and the substrate until they are free from the rollers. Turn the drive switch off. Place selector switch in neutral. Unlatch feed tray, lift the safety shield, and remove the gap gauge block and substrate. Step 6. Be sure the gap set is accurate by rotating the roller pressure handle clockwise until the rollers are down and locked, and taking your sample substrate piece and placing it at the roll opening. The gap should be the exact thickness of the substrate. Threading the laminator. Common sense warning. We strongly suggest disconnecting the power from its source before threading the laminator to prevent accidental injury to the operator. If you choose to thread the machine under power, be sure to always return the speed control to 0 before turning on the motor drive switch. Threading the Econocraft pressure-sensitive roll applicator can be somewhat tricky. Following is a depiction of what we feel are the least annoying techniques for loading, threading, and running various applications. First, get a roll of the PSA film with which you wish to work. Slide it onto the supply roll mandrel as shown here. With heavier rolls of film, we recommend that 2 people perform this operation. Return the supply roll mandrel end to its notch fitting in the supply roll mounting bracket. Make sure both ends are seated properly. Center the roll and make sure the adhesive side of the film is facing upward. To make the threading experience more tolerable, always use a piece of scrap paper, release paper, or thin cardboard as a leader board to help guide the film through the nip and cleanly out the back of the machine. This leader board works best if it is at least as wide as the PSA film. Open the laminating rolls and insert the leader board through them, leaving 6 to 8 inches of it exposed in front of the rolls. Then close the rolls. Lift the safety shield up and pull the leader up between the top back edge of the safety shield and the top rubber roll, leaving 2 to 3 inches above the shield to adhere to the web of the incoming PSA film. Then close the safety shield. Pull down a length of film off the roll. You may have to loosen the supply roll tension to let the film unwind easier. If the PSA film you are using has a release liner, route the film under the top idler bar as shown here. If you have not done so already, place a piece of scrap 3-inch diameter cardboard core on the release liner shaft and core chuck assembly as shown here. Separate the liner from the adhesive-laden film and pull the leading edge of the liner up enough to tape it to the front surface of the take-up core, as demonstrated here. Use the idler bar as the separation fulcrum point for the liner and the film. Now you can adhere the leading edge of the adhesive film to the exposed end of the leader board. Try to have the respective edges fairly square to each other to help eliminate heinous wrinkling as the leader and web combination is drawn through the machine. With the safety shield in its proper position, lock the feed tray in place. Reconnect power to the machine if you have not already done so. Turn the speed control to the 0 position. Place the forward reverse switch in forward. Place the foot pedal mode selector switch in the upper drive switch position and turn on the drive switch. Slowly increase the speed and keep a watchful eye on the leader sheet and the leading edge of the film as it is drawn into the rubber rolls. Make sure the release paper is in place under the exposed adhesive or make ready the sheets of scrap paper to be placed there. As the film passes through the rolls, adjust the supply roll tension and the release liner take-up tension as needed. If the web of film has excessive wrinkling as it passes over the rubber roll, increase the supply roll tension. Turn the tension knobs clockwise to increase tension. To draw the web tight and wrinkle-free, a small amount of tension is needed for most jobs. Too little tension and too much tension can both cause wrinkling. The right amount of tension is the least amount that will do the job. While all this is going on, the release liner take-up needs to be adjusted to ensure smooth and accurate separation of the release liner from the film at the idler roll. Not enough tension and the release liner will follow the film into the nib. The proper amount of tension is just enough to keep the release liner and film separating right at the idler bar. Once the web of film is running wrinkle-free, you can now begin laminating your pieces. Remember, any exposed adhesive from the film will stick to the rolls and potentially cause a wraparound. Overlap your work or run release or scrap paper between sheets to prevent wraparounds. When using a film or pre-mask that does not have a release liner, thread the film from the supply roll over the idler roller and over the rubber roller into the nip. Always make sure the adhesive side of the film is facing out, away from the surface of the top roll. Use the same threading, leader board, and tensioning techniques as shown earlier to ensure a smooth, wrinkle-free web with which to work. Application of transfer-taped pre-masked signage to a substrate. The Econocraft 30, 50, and 60 will accept rigid substrates up to 1 inch thick. This allows the versatility needed to accomplish various mounting applications where use of a thicker substrate is required, such as applying vinyl to sign blanks. The roller gap must be adjusted to the thickness of the substrate with which you are working. Use the procedure shown earlier. The vinyl signage should be placed on the substrate signboard, released liner side down, and aligned the way it is to appear on the substrate. Create a hinge by taping the leading edge of your transfer tape signage to the substrate. Peel back 2 inches of your release liner and slide the positioned end of the board into the laminator. Holding the taped graphics up with one hand, using your free hand, gently pull away the release liner as the machine pulls the substrate through. With the vinyl adhesive exposed, it is imperative that the operator keep the vinyl suspended above the substrate until the point of application at the nip rollers. If the graphic were to touch before being laminated, there is a greater risk of trapping air bubbles or wrinkles. Slowly start the machine and pull the release liner off as it pulls the substrate through. Remove the liner slowly, holding up the taped signage with one hand and pulling away the release liner with the other. Holding the signage straight up at a 90-degree angle to the feed tray, from the point where it curls under the safety shield, the release liner can easily be separated from the signage at this point. The safety shield serves as a kind of guide for removing the release liner in this application. Holding the signage straight up against the bottom of the safety shield as the machine pulls the material into the rollers also keeps the vinyl adhesive off the substrate until it reaches the rollers, ensuring a bubble-free application. Cold mounting. The Econocraft can be used to apply adhesive to mounting boards such as foam core. Substrates can also be purchased pre-coated with pressure-sensitive adhesive and a release liner. Some cold adhesives adhere better and are more reliable than dry mount hot adhesives when it comes to various plastics, coated papers, and coated mounting boards often used in digital imaging. Most rolls of adhesive have a single release liner. When threading the laminator, the release liner should be against the top rubber roll. When laminating one side, you must not allow exposed adhesive to go into the machine. Make sure the material being coated is at least as wide as the roll of film. Overlap the pieces or use scrap paper underneath them in order to prevent the adhesive from coming in contact with the rollers. Adjust the roller gap for the thickness of the board you are going to use if the board is more than 1/8 of an inch thick. Thread the machine using the leader board technique as shown earlier. Adjust the unwind tension to remove any wrinkles from the material. Do not use excessive tension as it may stretch or distort the material. Begin to feed the mounting boards, butting each up against the one ahead. Cut the boards apart with a utility knife at the back end. Once your boards are coated, or if you buy them pre-coated, you are ready to mount any graphic. There are many methods for sizing and trimming, but most operators use boards that are slightly bigger than the graphics, then trim the board and graphic together after mounting. To mount graphics to these coated boards is simple. Peel back about 2 inches of release liner on one end of the board. Create a hinge by using this exposed adhesive to position the graphic on the board. Slide the positioned end of the board into the laminator, holding the graphic up with one hand. Gently pull back and away the release liner before it gets into the nip. The machine will apply the even pressure needed to securely bond the graphic to the board smoothly and wrinkle-free. The board and graphic can now be trimmed to the desired finished size. Now that we have covered the most common application techniques and conclude our instructional video, remember that the quality of the finished lamination depends on several factors such as film quality, substrate, items to be laminated, lamination pressure, and correct feeding technique. To assure the highest quality lamination possible, some degree of experimentation is required. We suggest whenever you run any unfamiliar films, substrates, or media that you make test runs with some small samples to learn the nuances of the respective applications. Before we wrap up this instructional video, let's touch on basic maintenance. This consists mainly of keeping the rubber rolls clean and free of excess adhesive buildup and periodic lubrication of the drive chain, sprockets, and cams. To clean the rubber rollers, turn off the master power switch and unplug the machine. Clean the rubber rollers with a mildly abrasive cleaning pad such as a white Scotch-Brite pad and mildly soapy water or a non-solvent cleaner such as Simple Green or 409. Moisten the rollers and rub firmly on the tougher buildup areas but not too hard as to mar the rolls. Wipe clean with a sturdy shop rag. The drivetrain, sprockets, and cams should receive a light coat of heavy grease, or if you prefer, a heavy coat of light grease, after each 1,000 hours of operation. This concludes the instructional video for the Econocraft 30, 50, and 60-inch pressure-sensitive roll applicator. If you have any questions about this or any other Ledco product, please contact us at 1-800-937-9697 or visit us online at ledcoinc.com or contact Graphic Laminating at 1-800-345-5300 or visit online at www.graphiclaminating.com. Thank you.